This index documents what happens when the U.S. government bypasses its own rules, erases a man it was legally forbidden to remove, and then scrambles to justify it after the fact. It's not about whether Kilmar Abrego Garcia was a good guy. This isn't about bringing him back here. It's about what the system just showed it can do and how far it will go to cover it up. Kilmar entered the United States illegally in 2011. He was detained by immigration enforcement in 2019 and placed into formal removal proceedings, a process where a federal immigration judge evaluates whether someone should be deported or allowed to remain under U.S. law. He was not yet a permanent resident, but if the court determined he faced persecution in his home country, the law required protection. Judge Elizabeth Kessler denied him bond while the case was pending, citing an unproven gang affiliation claim. Later that same year, Judge David L. Jones heard the full case. After evaluating evidence, Judge Jones denied Kilmar's asylum claim, but granted him withholding of removal, a form of limited legal protection that barred the government from deporting him to El Salvador due to the threat of gang persecution. While not full legal status, this ruling meant Kilmar was lawfully allowed to remain in the U.S. unless the government found a third country willing to accept him. It never did. Under withholding, you can't vote, and you don't get permanent residency, but you can legally live, work, and check in with the government. You're inside the system. You're documented, and your presence is protected by law. The system had spoken. Trump's executive branch accepted it. Trump's DHS issued Kilmar a work permit in 2019. He checked in with ICE for the next 6 years, no new charges, no rearrest. He was living and working legally in Maryland with his wife and children, fully known to the government and under supervision the entire time. In 2021, his wife filed for a protective order. Civil, not criminal, no arrest, no charges. The order expired. By 2025, they were back together, raising 3 children. DHS never cited the incident in court. It was only used after the fact as smear fuel. Then in 2025, the government flipped the switch without presenting new evidence. DHS labeled Kilmar a certified MS-13 terrorist. The same 2019 gang tip was recycled. No new filings, no motion to revoke his protection, no hearing, just press releases and talking points. On March 15th, 2025, while a court order was still in effect, ICE deported Kilmar to El Salvador. DHS did not claim national security. Department of Justice did not argue imminent threat. Under oath, they said, through administrative error, Abrego Garcia was removed to El Salvador. Administrative error is not a new invention. DHS has used that phrase before to cover quiet policy breaks, but never this publicly, and never with this much at stake. The manifest had his name. The internal database said he was protected. They called it a mistake, but never explained the process that led to it. My position, it wasn't a clerical mistake. It was a flag, an algorithm, probably something built by Palantir, a tech company that builds massive government tracking systems and analytics tools that help ICE determine who gets flagged, watched, or disappeared. Maybe the system auto-flagged him based on stale intel, and no one stopped it. Because stopping it would have exposed the machine. It would have damaged public trust, and it would have dragged their back-end tools into the light. So instead of fixing the error, they doubled down, allegedly. He was sent to CCOT, Bukel's mega prison in El Salvador, where detainees are held indefinitely without trial. The U.S. paid $6 million to deport hundreds there under a closed-door agreement. No one has seen Kilmar since. As of this writing, no proof of life has been presented. What would proof look like? A video, a statement, a visit from legal counsel, a prison log, something. Instead, there's nothing. Silence. I believe it's entirely possible he's dead, and they're covering it up. Judge Paula Sinis ordered the administration to facilitate his return. The Supreme Court upheld the order 9-0. The executive branch ignored both. That's not dysfunction. That's civil unraveling. You don't need to believe the courts are sovereign to see what this exposed, that no one is. Here's the timeline for context. 2011. Enters U.S. in 2019. Detained, denied bond, granted withholding. 2019 to 2025. ICE check-ins, work permit, family life. March 2025, deported under legal protection. April 2025, smears begin. Supreme Court ruling ignored. The arrest itself was sudden. His wife says he was taken during a family drive. ICE pulled them over, cuffed him on the roadside, and vanished him before the lawyers even filed. He wasn't hiding. He wasn't fleeing. He was driving his own kids. After the backlash, Conservative Inc. flooded the media with smears, MS-13 labels, wife-beater claims, talk of trafficking. Then they rolled out grieving mother Patty Morin, whose daughter was murdered in Maryland, Senator Van Hollen's state. The timing wasn't subtle, it was emotional deflection. A grieving mother to bury a legal scandal. Senator Van Hollen traveled to El Salvador to advocate for the release of Kilmar. Salvadoran authorities denied his request to meet with Abrego Garcia, and officials could not promise a future meeting. In April 2025, the Tennessee Star published an unconfirmed story claiming Kilmar had been stopped in 2022 in Tennessee while transporting 7 passengers suspected of human trafficking and flagged on a terrorist watch list. The story is based entirely on anonymous sources. No police report has been released, no dispatch record, no statement from the Tennessee Highway Patrol, FBI, or DHS, and more importantly, this was never mentioned in any court filing. If it's true, why didn't they use it when it mattered? If it's false, why are they pushing it now? Either way, they're hiding something. I'm not defending him as a good guy. That's never been the point. Let's recap my take. He lived here for 15 years. Trump's DHS gave him a work permit. That's not theory. That's fact. So how did he get flagged? I think it was AI. Something built by Palantir. DHS admitted it was a mistake, but never explained how the mistake happened. I don't think it was a mistake at all. I think the system flagged him automatically based on old intel, an unchallenged label, a bad data point, and nobody stepped in to fix it. Because fixing it would have meant admitting that the system is out of control. It would have meant revealing that we're letting AI make final decisions about who gets erased. And it would have dragged Palantir into the sunlight. Instead, they ran with it. Maybe there's a deportation quota deal with El Salvador. I don't know yet. But the moment the blowback started, they rolled out the smears. Conservative Inc., Trump World, DHS Press, they dropped everything they had, even things they never brought up in court. Why? Because they needed to bury the truth. I said, that's not Christian. I said, Trump is acting like a Zionist Jew. That doesn't reflect my values. That's not justice. That's manipulation. I said, the lies and the smears are disgusting. And I said, if they can do it to him, they'll do it to me. I'm watching. I'm open to being wrong, but nothing I've seen changes my read. This was never about whether he's innocent. It's about what the system just showed it's capable of doing, what it's already done, and how fast they'll mobilize to cover it up. I used to believe illegal is illegal. I've said it. I've meant it. There are people here who haven't gone through the process, who haven't been ruled on by a judge. They should be prioritized for deportation. But that's not what this was. This wasn't someone hiding. This wasn't someone new. This was someone who went through the system. A judge reviewed his case. Trump's DHS gave him a work permit. He was here legally until they pretended he wasn't. And that's the danger. If the government can erase your legal presence with a label, illegal, terrorist, threat, and never prove it in court, then none of us are protected. Once due process becomes optional, it's not about immigration anymore. It's about control.